get you back inside your head before the summer ends, and spread a little love. Just for a little fun, I'll make you come back to me before the rise of every sun. Baby, it's meant to be, I know you got a man, but he don't understand. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. There's rhythm in our love, it's impressive, excessive. You can't make this stuff up. My chest beats, it's restless, wakes the neighbors up above. Yeah, baby, come and show me love. Baby, come and show me love, because you're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
Take a one-way ride, steal us away to find a place we can hide. It wouldn't take much to disappear for a night, just to give in to the need and leave it all behind.
'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. 'Cause I know that you know that I know that you want me. You told me, now show me, come blow me away. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. You're gonna be a heartbreaker, you're such a love taker. So just suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah. Suck me in and you can toss me like a cigarette, 'cause I just wanna be a bad habit, yeah.
And welcome to Inside the Numbers with the People's Pundit. I am your host, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. It is Thursday, and we're a little late today, a little sick today. So I got my comfy, cozy poster shirt on, courtesy of Jim over at Susquehanna. Thanks, Jim. Hell of a shirt. I love it. Anyway, moving on. And we should actually tell people where to get these things if they want. It's cool. But anyway, let's talk today in detail, more detail, and I got some charts to show you, about the transgender issues and then the favorability ratings of members of Congress. Because the big takeaway from this survey is that on just about every issue that is present right now, that is in the national discussion, well, not just about, every issue we polled, the Republican Party has the voter on their side, but their leadership is, I mean, tepid, too meek, too cowardly, too corrupt, whatever word you want to use. They're ineffective. They're ineffective. And we're going to look at their likabilities, their ratings to their favorability ratings, because, well, nobody's really popular in Congress. The bottom line is, can you be effective with people this much disliked, all right, by the public? Can they effectively drive a message when they don't have the media on their side? So Democrats are not liked well either, except for Chuck Schumer is probably the most liked. We're going to take a look, all right, but it's not a high bar. But they have the media on their side to help them tell the story. We looked at H.R. 1, we looked at all the election integrity reforms down the line. They have the media, they have big corporate, big America, big everything. Big media, big finance, big business, big whatever, to help them pass a narrative off to the public that the public does not agree with. So they have to tell the story in a different way. They have an assist. They have what we call the media handicap. On the transgender issues, they have corporate America. Look at Asa Hutchinson. You think he told Tucker Carlson the truth the other night? He hasn't talked to Tyson. He hasn't talked to Walmart. They didn't call him about those transgender bills. Okay. Damn, you're going to find out why.
And I'm the Dalai Lama.
And I'm the Dalai Lama. Of course they did. And in fact, a week before, he was on with Ainsley Earhart on Fox and Friends. There's a lot of concern by the companies in our state that we're going to look like we're not a nice state. We're not a decent state. I don't know what the hell that means. Because Americans overwhelmingly reject this woke transgender activist stuff. It's overwhelming. Forget about whether they can chemically castrate themselves before they reach puberty. Forget about that. Let's just talk alone about the sports issues, which is far less controversial. Far less controversial. All right, give me a second. Let's get this. I had to pop out real quick. All right, so let's take a look at them. Bring up the first slide. Oh, that's Mitch McConnell.
Sorry.
Let's boom. There we go. Here we go. Transgender, and I have to get rid of the overlay too, or else people won't be able to see what it is I'm doing here. Here we go. All right. Transgender sports and competitions. You guys, you have this the spreadsheet with the crosstabs. Yeah, make sure everybody's got that link. From the Google Sheet is still the same the other day. We just keep adding to it. All right.
You guys actually could see Rich working live.
American,
that was funny.
Yeah, American voters' views on transgender issues. The entire question for my loser troll fan base. You can actually see how we asked the question, woke boy. Okay, it's right there. Exactly how it's stated is how we asked it. We don't play games like that. Transgender students participating on sports teams alongside the gender they identify with, such as biological males identifying as female, joining a biological female soccer team, or vice versa. About 16.9% told us they were unsure or had no opinion. I think it's safe to say a not so insignificant percentage of that is full of crap and feels the social pressure from wokeness and is afraid to tell the truth. Still, a majority, 52.6%, oppose transgenders playing on, let's say, a biological boy who now identifies as a girl being allowed to play on a high school girls soccer team with biological girls. 30.5% support that. A very small minority. And it gets worse as we get forward. Look at how these numbers progress as we talk about this. Look at how these numbers progress, and then ask yourself what it would be if we would have asked about chemical castration of prepubescent kids. What do you think that number is? Now, this is nationally, by the way. Asa Hutchinson is supposed to be a Republican governor of a deep red state. What do you think the numbers look like in his state? This is national. This includes California. This includes New York. This includes Illinois. This includes all of the woke coastal areas of this country. What do you think it is in Arkansas? Transgender students competing for sports scholarships against the gender they identify with, such as biological males identifying as female, competing against biological females for a track and field scholarship, or vice versa. 17.2% said, I don't know, I don't want to touch this. 55% said, no, I oppose that. And 27.8%, that's it. That's all, folks. Supported it. We're getting a little bit more controversial as we go. So first it's like, okay, if you're supportive of them playing on teams with this new gender they identify with, what about scholarships? Where does it end? Is it fair to take a scholarship away from a biological female because a guy who's confused thinks that he's a girl? Is it fair? Is that a fair society? To ignore the laws of nature and nature's God because somebody may be confused? Do you want your daughter, and ultimately that's what we wanted to get out of people. Are you okay with your daughter being ripped because she had to compete against a biological male? The answer is no. Across the board here, and it gets worse. The answer is no. And you are supposed to be shamed, and Asa Hutchinson is supposed to be shamed by Tyson Foods and Walmart, pretending to be moral people. Anybody ever work for Walmart, corporate Walmart? They're not moral people. Sam's dream is dead.
Long gone.
Can we be real for a second?
Try to find somebody to help you in Walmart. That's a mission in itself.
Bentonville is not exactly what it used to be. I'm talking about the corporate structure of Walmart. They pretend like they're moral people.
Yes.
You're kidding, right?
And the morality from the top disappears.
It trickles down. That's right. Yeah, it's tone. We call that in business tone from the top. All right, transgender athletes competing professionally against the gender they identify with. We're talking now about professional sports, the Olympics, sports circuits, right? Different leagues, such as biological males identifying as female entering a bodybuilder tournament against biological females. Do you support that? Or vice versa, which is important. We did that on purpose. It doesn't matter. We're not saying one against the other, period. 17.1%, roughly very consistent there with these 4 questions. We're not very comfortable telling us their opinion. 55.7% said, no, I oppose that, which is a big majority in this country. You get to 55 plus in anything in this country. It's hard to get to a majority in this country, folks, these days. It's hard. 27.2%, that's it, supported it. So Tyson and Walmart and the woke crowd in Silicon Valley, this is where they are. You are in the red. The majority. They are in the small sliver of woke blue. They are the minority in this country, not you. Don't let these people shame you for holding beliefs that just about everybody else holds. Transgender fighters, and this is may seem a little bit out there, but folks, understand. If you want to be equal, then when does it end? A girls' soccer team? No. Competing for a scholarship? No. Entering a bodybuilding tournament and ripping off a woman's deadlift record? No. If you want equality, true equality, are you prepared to watch a biological male beat a woman's face in the octagon or boxing? Transgender fighters competing against the gender they identify with, such as biological males identifying as females, entering a boxing or mixed martial arts circuit against biological females, or vice versa. 18.1%, you can clearly see people were like, whoa, even a little bit more, said I don't want to touch this. But 56% said no. 56 flat, which was the highest out of any of these that we asked. All majorities, but this was the highest. The least number was supportive of this question, 25.9%. So remember this when you hear the media narrative. We're supposed to all roll over for a quarter of the country. Everyone is supposed to just roll over for these demands. And if you're uncomfortable with it, then there's something wrong with you. Well, guess what? There's something wrong with the majority of the country then. Or maybe there's something wrong with the little blue sliver. Because anyone who says they're prepared to watch a grown man beat on a grown woman, is that progress? Is that what they had in mind in women's suffrage?
I don't think that was the plan.
This is what the holy warriors got together outside the church, Protestant women. This is what they had in mind? You're kidding me, right? When you have and you know what? I want to, real quick, you guys stay for a hot second. I wish I could show you this, but I want to tell you What do they want to know? By party, maybe? Do they want to know by party? Do they want to know by, you have the, by the way, you guys have the what's it called? The spreadsheet with the crosstabs, and you can go through and look it up yourself. But we're also nesting some stuff that we're going to share tomorrow, because we basically trying to do this in progression, right? So on these questions, regionally, I thought was interesting. Okay, let's go first to.
Are they sharing the same locker rooms too?
That's I didn't want to I didn't want to say that because I didn't want it to be bias tainting. Yeah. So I really didn't want to do it. I wanted them to just get an idea of what what we were talking about.
Let me tell you, if a boy shows up in my daughter's locker room, we're gonna have a serious problem.
Well, this is really, here's the thing: transgender fighters competing against the gender they identify with, such as biological males, blah blah. Right? On that question, women 52% opposed, men 61%. But still, only 28% of women supported, roughly. About 22.7% of men did. All right, but women were much more likely on all these questions to say they were unsure, Laura. They were much more likely. And regionally, let's get region in here. Okay. Because talking about good old Asa Hutchinson, okay, the South, no surprise here, is much more opposed to this stuff. The South is in the high 50s, just below 60, in opposition. The Midwest looks much more like the South, and the most supportive of this is the Northeast. And I will tell you, the Northeast was more liberal, okay? Because the West did include California, but even the West, 54.4%. When we look at it by region, still said they oppose. I got to tell you, we were looking at some of those referendum votes that went down in November in California. These were not liberal decisions. The voter came down, against affirmative action. It came down against a tax and a privacy issue. I mean, it's a failure of messaging. It is the Republican Party's failure of messaging. By area, the suburbs are just like rural America. 59% oppose, 61% in rural America oppose, 59% in the suburbs. Urban America was 45. I'm not kidding. So this is how out of touch. We are talking about a divide here that is incredible. On the issue of whether bodybuilding tournaments, right? The suburbs were still 58% no, rural was 62% no, and urban America was 45% no. But even in urban America, nowhere did it receive plurality support for any of these questions. The closest one was the scholarship question, I think. It was like oppose +6 in that question. Even the girls' soccer teams was +4 in urban, but the suburbs look just like the rest of America, folks. They do not look like urban America. That is a monumental failure of messaging. When you have that big of a disparity, when you're looking at +20, +30 on your favor, and you can't make a solid case, or you're afraid, you're pathetic. You're inept. You're neutered. Whatever. I can keep coming up with adjectives forever. But these were overwhelming. And it would be, can we get real for a second? 17 to 19% that kept saying they were unsure. They're full of crap. They're full of crap. In fact, when we asked about, are they willing to talk about their views? I can cross and nest that right now. Let me do that. Give me 1 second. I'm going to give this to you. Let's go with one of the questions. Let's take the fighters competing against the gender they identify with. Should I take a less controversial one and look? Because let's take a less controversial one.
And then somebody also wants to know along the lines of who are those that are more uncomfortable sharing their opinion, unsure.
That's what I was trying
question.
to. Yep.
Females, young.
They're females. Many in the burbs, female suburban women, and black women in urban America. That was another one. And older white men, which really didn't matter regionally. Generally speaking, it was like older white man who was like, should I answer this question? I don't think so. That's what I'm going to nest right now to show people because that's very, very interesting. Pollster sharing views. All right, let's update it. And I'll give you by women, by the way. Let's see. And rows. I got to put that in rows, too, to be able to get it. All right. Update. And some of these, if they put in requests and you want to see something nested, because if I can't do it for everything. Well, I can. But, I mean, it would take us forever to put it out there. If there's something you guys want to see, let me know, and I'll stuff them in that sheet. Okay? So something like this. We did, so far, in-person learning. Difference between parents who have children and those who do not. We started nesting those beyond simply crossing them in a crosstab, right? And in truth, men, the husband, let me put it that way, the husband is less likely than the wife to want to put their kids back in school, even though it's an overwhelming majority. It's just that it's about three or 4 points that more on the female side. Mm-hmm. It's like 3.8 or something like that, which I thought was interesting because you would think men. No, I know, but I guess women are the ones who handle the children.
Protective.
Yep.
Men are. This is my family unit. Nobody touches my children, babies, nothing. Even if it's protecting them from COVID.
But that's not the way women see it. Women feel more. More strongly. On this issue. All right, so let's see. Transgender, what they, there we go. Support, no opinion. Pollster sharing, comfortable sharing. Views. All right, so get this. Very comfortable. As far as unsure and no opinions on the transgender issues. Very comfortable was only 12%. Somewhat jumped a little bit, right? Somewhat uncomfortable goes to 20, and very uncomfortable, 22. So, clearly, if 22% of those who said they were uncomfortable also said they were unsure or had no opinion, we could just go ahead and take those 98 people and say they were full of crap. Or at least a lot of them were full of crap. They have an opinion. They just were not comfortable sharing it and being honest. And even the other 95 who said somewhat comfortable. Somewhat uncomfortable, excuse me. I mean, even, who knows, maybe even some people in somewhat comfortable were reluctant to give their answer. Social biases are very, very, very real. Very real. All right, so let's see. Before we move on to favorability ratings, Steve on War Room, if you guys didn't see it, I tweeted out the Rumble clip from my spot on War Room, my segment on War Room yesterday. And Steve asked some really good questions about who did get vaccinated already. We asked people, please tell us which describes you in regards to the coronavirus vaccine. I have already been vaccinated. I intend to get vaccinated. I have no plans to get vaccinated. All right. On the very uncomfortable end of it, 30% said I intend to get vaccinated. I have no plans was 27%. All right, so they were also the second likely, though, to say they had already been vaccinated, which I found interesting because that tells me we could probably take this as pretty sound. I'm curious to see what the CDC thinks. Mm-hmm. What is their percentage? Of course, we're talking about voters here. They're going to be addressing all U.S. adults, right? But for those of you who haven't heard that, 43.3% told us they were vaccinated already. Another 32.1% told us they intended to get vaccinated. But about a quarter of the country, like Steve said, is a hard no. They are not going to get vaccinated. There's a lot, which is, I mean, look, I'm not expressing my opinion on the vaccine one way or the other. I'm just simply saying, if a quarter of the country doesn't get vaccinated, this isn't like the flu where you can, it doesn't really matter. And we've polled the flu before. Do you intend to? Are you going to get it? Have you gotten it? The flu shot this year. This looks a lot like the flu. The only difference is it's possible with the I intend to get vaccinated, 32%, right? It's usually about 7 in 10 Americans who tell us they're going to. But in truth, only about 40 ever do. 40% really do at the end of the flu season. With this, it is possible there are a couple things at work here. Laura brought up a good point. Overwhelmingly, if you look at this by race, and you guys should check that out, scroll on your sheet right now and check it out. if you look at this by race, whites are the most likely to say that they already have been vaccinated. All right. Hispanics and Black and African Americans, they're in the 30s, mid 30s, right? And then groups like Indians, and I don't mean Native Americans, I mean Indians from India, Asia, right? 46% are a hard no. They're not taking this vaccine. And these are educated people, by the way. I looked at that yesterday after the show. I was like, you know what? I wonder how many of these. They're actually pretty educated. And we can nest this too. Let's do this one too. Mm-hmm. All right? This is important. We'll do it by college and income. All right? And race. Race, college, income. So in any event, Asians, they are among the least likely to say that they have no plans to get vaccinated. Whites are about what it is nationally, 24.3%, a little bit under the national number of 24.6, right? Hispanics and Latinos, 22.1%, a little bit lower than the national average, say they have no plans to get vaccinated. African Americans, right on the money, close to right at 25.6, very close to the national number. American Indian, which is Native American, all right? American Indian or Alaska Native, 48.4%. No. I'm not getting it. Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, 17.6. The only group, and it's a small subgroup, we always do have a little bit more responses so we can oversample them, but it's a small subgroup, high error rate. So we'll have to keep track of this and see moving forward whether or not these numbers are roughly similar to what we have found in the past. I'd like to keep tracking this question. It's important, but it'll also tell us a lot about whether or not the prior results, do they mirror it? Are we seeing the same trends? With some of this may be availability. I hate to tell Biden supporters, some of this may be availability. This may be that the vaccine is more readily available to affluent Asians and whites than it is to Hispanics and African Americans. There's a clear racial disparity here. And Laura said that ethnic groups, and I think she makes a very good point, ethnic groups may be, and they are skeptical. Everybody's skeptical. There's a percentage of every racial group that is skeptical about whether this vaccine is safe, which one should I take, mRNA, I mean, it's gene therapy, or the Johnson & Johnson, which is a normal one. They're actually very sophisticated. There's not a lot of confidence. I'm trying to be nice about this.
Thank you for not taking the joke and telling people.
Well, what Laura said is, that a lot of ethnic groups may be skeptical and are waiting back to see, whether or not. I mean, Laura, that's a reality in this country.
I know.
Minorities are skeptical of the man.
But when you said it live,
no, I was trying to put it the right way. I didn't mean it like that. But they're skeptical of the man.
But, they're
very. Like, I don't know if I want to put that junk in my body. Let's wait and see how Joe Biden does with it.
Listen, if Abuela was live today, she'd be like,
she wouldn't take that vaccine.
She'd be